Welcome back to Behind the White Coat, the podcast that keeps you up to date on the structure, changes, and gaps within the medical field, so you can understand the healthcare industry without having a medical degree. Behind the White Coat is available exclusively on Spotify, so make sure to follow the show and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Caitlin Paulson, a fourth-year health science student at Northeastern University, minoring in nutrition on the pre-med track, who is passionate about making sure you feel informed and empowered about making your own health decisions, as you have a right to be included in those conversations. In today's episode, we will discuss a topic that may be surprising to most, which is the lack of nutrition knowledge among medical students and physicians. We'll start with an overview of this issue, then move into how it affects us as patients, and conclude with how we can help resolve it. So, diving right in. The issue of the lack of nutrition knowledge among medical students and physicians is a long-standing one. The issue was first widely recognized 40 years ago in 1985 when a report titled Nutrition Education in the United States Medical Schools was released by the National Academy. The report suggested that they should receive at least 25 hours of nutrition education. However, a 2024 study revealed that most medical students still do not meet this standard, indicating that no progress has actually been made to resolve this issue since it was first identified. This lack of knowledge has led to doctors to feel uncomfortable giving nutrition advice to patients. A 2021 article titled Nutrition, a Tenet of Lifestyle Medicine, but Not Medicine, described how most doctors believe nutrition to be vital to overall health. However, due to a lack of training, they are unwilling to give nutrition advice to their patients because they feel uncomfortable or unqualified to do so. The reason this is important to address is because of the rising rate of chronic disease, aka preventable diseases such as type 2 diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. These conditions are considered preventable because they have been proven to be directly tied to diet and lifestyle choices. Nutrition has been proven to be a key solution in preventing and managing these conditions. This directly ties into how this affects us as patients. The Centers for Disease Control released a statement that 3 in 4 adults in the U.S. have at least one of these chronic conditions. This is a hard pill to swallow because not only are so many adults being affected by these, but chronic conditions account for 70% of all deaths worldwide, according to a 2023 study. Unfortunately, I would love to say that with the spread of media and easier access to information that these numbers are predicted to go down, but I can't. The study from 2024 that I mentioned earlier discovered that the prevalence of adults over 50 with one chronic condition will increase by 99.5% by the year 2050, meaning that 142.7 million adults over the age of 50 will have at least one chronic condition. And this statistic doesn't even account for the number of people who will have one under the age of 50. That is a significant number of people affected by a medical condition that can be altered or prevented if they receive the right advice and guidance to combat it. Because doctors are not receiving enough training, they do not feel confident enough to share lifestyle and nutrition advice. And we as patients are the ones who have to pay the price for this. I want to be clear, I do not blame the doctors right now for the reason these conditions have increased exponentially. I blame the medical education and healthcare systems for not trying to resolve this. Right now, medical students and doctors have not been set up to help prevent these issues. Now, that does not mean that we are doomed. The change can start with us. If we vocalize how important we think nutrition is to our overall health, it slowly shifts how nutrition is seen within medicine. Instead of it being some side thing that gets brushed past, it becomes a priority. It allows the perspective on nutrition to shift to viewing it as a prevention and treatment tool, highlighting its importance to long-term health. We as patients typically view nutrition as separate from medicine, largely because of the structure of the healthcare system. Medicine typically focuses on diagnosing and treating conditions once they are identified, meaning that we are not automatically seeing the strong connection between our health and nutrition, especially when it comes to preventing chronic disease. So, we as patients, advocating for nutrition to be addressed in our medical care shows that we see this gap. By asking questions, expressing our need for nutrition guidance, and seeking preventative care, we push for an addressal of this issue. Now, that does not mean the problem is fixed overnight, but it will lead to a change over time, which is why our voices as patients are so important. That is all for today's episode of Behind the White Coat. I hope this conversation allowed you to think about nutrition in a new light and maybe even address topics that were new to you or things you had questions about. If you have questions about this episode or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, you can always email info@behindthewhitecoat.com. Or if you want to do your own reading on this topic, I have a page of all the studies I referenced, plus a few extras. Thank you guys so much for listening. I will talk to you next time where we will discuss the issue of overtesting in the medical field.